Okay, take a quick look at what you're wearing right now. It might seem pretty straightforward, right? But your clothes are literally held together by tiny, brilliant pieces of engineering. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and decode the hidden technical secrets that are keeping your outfit from, becoming a pile of fabric on the floor.
So let me just ask you this. What is the most important piece of tech you have on you at this very moment? Your phone? Your watch? What if I told you it's something you probably haven't even thought about once today?
Nope, it's not the fancy moisture-working fabric or the special dye. The real engineering marvel is how all those pieces of fabric are joined together. It's the humble and honestly completely overlooked lines of thread that connect everything. To really get this, we have to start at the first layer of construction, the seam itself. So what exactly is a seam, and what is it supposed to be doing? A seam, at its most basic, is just the line where two or more pieces of fabric meet and are sewn together. Seems pretty simple, right? But that one simple line is where all the critical decisions are made, the kinds of decisions that separate a high-quality garment from something that just falls apart.
See, every single seam is a balancing act between two big things, performance and appearance. Or put another way, how it works versus how it looks. And you really can't have one without the other.
Okay, so on the performance side, a seam has to be strong. But here's a super interesting detail. You don't want it to be stronger than the fabric. If it is, the fabric itself could rip when it's put under stress. The seam also needs elasticity so it can move with you. It needs to be durable. And of course, it has to be comfortable against your skin. And then you've got the other side of the coin, appearance. A good seam just has to look good. That means no weird defects, no damage to the fabric, and absolutely none of that annoying waviness that we call puckering. The whole goal is for the seam to either be totally invisible or a clean, deliberate part of the design. All right, so now that we know what makes a good seam, let's go on a little expedition right into your own wardrobe. Think of this as your personal field guide to the different types of seams you're going to find on the clothes you wear every day. First up, we've got the Class 1, the superimposed seam. This is by far the most common type in the world. You just stack two pieces of fabric, one on top of the other, and sew them together. Go ahead, check the side seam of your shirt. I bet you're looking at one of these right now. Next up is the Class 2 or lapped seam. This one is an absolute beast. It's all about strength. The fabric edges overlap, they get folded in on each other, and they're usually locked down with two rows of stitches. This is the workhorse seam that holds your jeans together. This beauty is a Class 3, or down seam. What's happening here is that a whole separate strip of fabric is used to wrap around and encase a raw edge. It gives this incredibly clean, finished look, which is exactly why you'll almost always find one on the neckline of a t-shirt. Now, for anything that's worn right up against your skin, think workout clothes or underwear, you're going to want a Class 4 or flat seam. Instead of overlapping, the two edges of the fabric just meet right up against each other. This makes the thinnest, flattest seam possible, which is all about comfort and preventing any rubbing or chafing. And finally, we've got Class 6, edge neatening. This one's a little different. It's not about joining two pieces of fabric. Its whole job is to finish and protect a single raw edge. A thread just wraps around the edge of the fabric, stopping it from fraying over time. It's a simple little detail, but it's absolutely crucial for the life of the garment. So let's do a quick recap. We've got the superimposed seam for pretty much everything, the lapped seam for serious strength, the bound seam for those clean edges, the flat seam for maximum comfort, and edge neatening to keep things from falling apart. Every single one is a different tool for a very specific job. So we've looked at the big picture, the seam. But what are those seams actually made of? Let's zoom in, way in, down to the atomic level of how your clothes are built, the stitch itself. A stitch is just a single loop of thread, or a series of them. It is the absolute fundamental building block. And how those threads loop and lock together, well, that determines pretty much everything about how that seam is going to perform. Okay, first, meet the Class 100, the chain stitch. It's made with just a single thread that loops back on itself. It's super fast to make, and it's nice and stretchy. But it has one very famous weakness. You know when you snag a thread and pull it, and the whole thing just comes undone? Yep, that's the chain stitch. But then you have this guy, the Class 300, the lock stitch. This is the king. It's the most common stitch in your clothes for a really good reason. It uses two threads, one from the top and one from the bottom. They literally interlock inside the fabric, creating this incredibly secure, strong stitch that just will not unravel.
Okay, now that we have all this amazing knowledge, we can start to diagnose problems. Let's look at one of the most common issues you'll see in clothing and figure out the engineering behind it. Why do seams sometimes get all wavy and puckered?
You've definitely seen this before. It's called seam pucker. It's that bunching up or gathering right along the stitch line that just makes a piece of clothing look, well, kind of cheap. It's a classic sign that the engineering balance between the thread, the fabric, and the machine was just a little bit off. The most common culprit here is just tension. If the sewing thread is being pulled way too tight by the machine as it's stitching, it actually squishes and compresses the fabric, and that's what causes that puckered look. The fix, in theory, is simple. You just loosen up the thread's tension so everything can lie flat and happy. So let's bring this all home. By taking a closer look at something as simple as seams and stitches, we've basically uncovered this whole hidden world of engineering that exists in the clothes we wear every single day. Whether it's the beefy lapped seam giving your jeans their strength or that trusty lock stitch making sure your shirt stays in one piece, this isn't just sewing. It's a whole system of carefully chosen components, all designed to do a specific job. It is, truly, textile engineering. So the next time you get dressed, I want you to take a closer look. You have the field guide now. You know what you're looking for. What engineering choices, what little hidden secrets are you going to find stitched into your own wardrobe?